How does this show just keep getting better? How is it possible? Welcome back, everyone. We're here to talk about The Penguin, episode 3, and my goodness, was this a good episode. This was the best episode I've seen so far, and it ends on such a cliffhanger. I actually wanted to binge it. I actually wanted to see the next episode. I am glad that this is a weekly release because I do love getting to these videos and discuss with you, and also because I love getting time to process emotionally everything that's happened because it's a very high octane show. But my goodness, what a note to end it on. Like, what are we doing here? Vic. I think what I love the most about this episode, clearly, is that it was a very Vic-focused episode. Before I get further into this, I better say spoilers, because I'm immediately going to be talking about spoilers, because it's too good. It's too good. But if you're new here, I do have episode reviews for the earlier episodes you can check out if you want to start from the beginning, if you're not up to date with episode 3, but let's talk about episode 3, because that's the title of the video. That's what we came here for. We came here to talk about Vic. This episode starts off with Vic, and I was so excited from the beginning of the episode. I knew in my heart of hearts this means it's going to be Vic focused. And finally, we're getting the Vic origin story, which I've been waiting since I first got to know this character, since episode 1. And I was like, yes, Vic is such a cool character. Okay, so basically what happens is we get a little bit about Vic's origin, who is coming to terms with whether or not this is something he actually wants in his life. Does he want to be allied with Oz? Does he not? Does he want a different life? He's sort of thinking about where he came from and is reconciling his past with his current present and deciding who he wants to be. At the same time, Oz and Sophia have cemented their allyship, their bond. I was gonna say their bond, and then I was like, this implies that they're like romantically together, and that is so not the case. But their reluctant partnership, let us say, where Sophia has shown Oz the operation for the drops that they are making that are going to be revolutionary. They're actually not like drops. These are basically like psychedelics, and she needs Oz's help to find someone that can distribute the drugs to Gotham, because obviously they're going behind the family's back to do this, and so it can't be connected to Sophia. We don't want the Falcones to know what's going on, is what they're thinking. So Oz sets out to find a distributor, and then they basically have to do like an audition, if you will, for the distributor to prove that it's good stuff and that it has staying power and people will pay a good penny for it and that it's worth it for them, because obviously it's a bit risky. They're siding with Sophia and Oz, who are going behind the family's back, so it's risky. It's a risky move. And that's basically the idea of what's happening in this episode. I just think we are so freaking blessed to have so many amazing performers in this show. I'm like praying to the drama gods, and I'm like, thank you for giving me The Penguin, a show where everyone in it is so good and everyone is amazing. And I love watching it. I love watching it. I want to be in it. Season 2, if you need someone. I don't know. If you need a Batgirl, HBO Max, call me. What we're dealing with is a lot of drama on Vic's side and a lot of drama on Oz's side, and even some drama on Sophia's side. There's some stuff going on there. We're also dealing a lot with the relationship between Oz and Sophia, which turns out there's more to that, of course, because Oz is a mysterious man of many secrets, and he's never honest with anyone. So we learned about Vic's backstory at the beginning. It starts with his origin and what happened when the flood came through Gotham after the explosions, which we saw in The Batman. The thing that I really like about getting to see that origin story is it also grounds us in the world a lot, because with The Batman, we're seeing it from like one particular lens. We're seeing it through Batman's lens, and we don't really get to see the devastation that happens to the rest of the city. We get to see it in that one spot, but you don't think about like how many people in Gotham would be affected by this. And the fact that Vic is also from a poorer neighborhood, and their neighborhood seems like it was hit really, really hard, is just like devastating. And it makes you really think of everyone else in Gotham that's suffering, and it creates a backdrop for our story here in a very real way because we're connected to it directly through Vic's character, through his loss of his family, his loss of the life he had before as just a kid, and now he's just fighting to survive. The other thing that we get to explore in this episode is Oz and Sophia's relationship, which I think is scary. It's dangerous, man. I feel like Oz is walking a really dangerous line with Sophia, and I'm always waiting for her to snap. In this episode, it comes out that he was actually Sophia's driver and that he basically betrayed her in some way. And it seems like it's implied that's basically why she went to Arkham Asylum. And Oz says he didn't know that that's what would happen. And he does feel bad about it. Eventually, at the end of the episode, she manages to get something out of him where he basically confessed. Well, he actually brings it back up. He's like, look, I know you've asked me about this, and I know it's this point between us, but, you know, I never knew they were going to do that to you. I never thought your family would send you to Arkham. I never thought it would be that bad. And so, yeah, I did it to put myself forward, but I didn't know the consequences, and I do feel bad about it. He doesn't say that he's sorry because he's like, look, I got a lot out of it, so I'm not sorry. But I do feel bad about what happened to you because that was never my intention to hurt you. And I do have your back. And nothing that he says feels like it's the truth. Or it feels like, you know, it's really only part of the truth. And I don't know. I don't think he felt bad for putting Sophia in Arkham. I think he felt bad when she came back and he realized, oh, shoot, I got some hell to pay. And indeed he does. And of course, now that I know this bit of lore, I need to know more about how he betrayed her or sold her out. And, you know, why she was sent to Arkham. I mean, I've wanted to know that since Sophia was introduced. And since we found out she came back from Arkham Asylum, I feel like that's fascinating. But I'm sure we'll get more as the season continues. And potentially even if we get more seasons of this show, I'm sure there's many secrets for us to uncover when it comes to Oz and his connections to people and his own past. The other thing, though, is that although once again I'm confronted with this idea of the fact that Oz is playing like 3D chess and there's so many pieces, and that's why he keeps everything so close, because he does have these plans. Once again, it feels so chaotic in this episode because it's like a house of cards. It's like everything is set up so delicately that anything can happen to just destroy any momentum we build up. And so in this episode, we actually do manage to get some interest for the drug, and it seems like things are on the up and up for Oz. And this is when Vic says that he's decided he's going to, well, he doesn't even say it. Oz takes his phone and sees that Vic has been considering leaving and going to California with his girlfriend, who he recently reconnected with in this episode, and who also survived the events at the end of the Batman, which of course has led us to now where we're basically in no man's land. But Vic doesn't even necessarily communicate that he wants to leave. He more says, you know, I wanted to tell you, and Oz accuses him of betraying him and wanting to take the money, and he's like, it wasn't like that. You know, this is someone that I care about, and at the end of the day, Oz loses that, and then while he's having this heart-to-heart with Sophia, who pulls up, but of course the Maronis, who have been, of course, following him and seeing everything that's been happening. And so they're there to basically make Oz pay for betraying them. And of course, all of this gets revealed to Sophia. So now Sophia basically knows that Oz is the rat. And we seem to be in this situation where, you know, they're on their knees and you're like, man, what's going to happen? And that's when Vic ultimately made the decision to not go with his girlfriend. He does not get on the bus to California. He comes back and he runs into the assailants and is able to get Oz out of there. However, what a mess that is. What a mess that leaves us in. It's so awful. And the fact that Oz also doesn't think that they should take Sophia. Like, Vic literally says, what about Sophia? And Oz is like, just leave her. Like, this is not going to be good. This is not going to be good. I mean, I guess what he's hoping is that she'll be taken care of. That's what I got to think. But if she's not, it's an even bigger mess. So it's like, as soon as we fix one problem, it's like 3 new leaks have sprung that we now need to fix. So I don't know if Oz actually has it together. I love that I flip-flop between these two ideas. I think he works best improvising. I think he is an improvisational master when it comes to creating plans. And I think he works best on the fly, and so that's why everything feels like it's very coordinated, when really he's always flying by the seat of his pants. But he's really good at flying by the seat of his pants. And that's how he gets put in these difficult situations. I'm actually kind of glad that Vic's love interest is gone, because I was going to be worried for her this whole time if she hadn't left, because I definitely think that both of these characters, Oz and Vic, are in a lot of danger going forward. And I hope that she ends up staying safe and she ends up staying out of Gotham. And I hope she doesn't come back, because she seems like a sweet girl. I don't want her to get murdered, brutally murdered, possibly. So overall, I loved this episode. I just felt it was one of the most exciting ones I've seen thus far. And I cannot wait to see where we go next with it. And I love that it's also providing us kind of with a zoom out, where we get to see the effects of the Batman on all of Gotham and think about how it's just affecting everyday people, which Vic is a part of that group. He was just a kid, and now it's completely derailed his life what the Riddler did, which is also just crazy when you think about what the Riddler was kind of trying to do. I mean, he was trying to, in a messed up way, I feel like he was trying to expose corruption and to kind of free people's minds in a messed up way. He is a villain, obviously. But at the same time, he ended up like hurting some of the poorer neighborhoods when he was like, you know, talking about what it means to be an orphan and like to not have things. And yet he hurt so many people and made a lot of orphans, honestly. But I guess that's what happens when you're a villain and, you know, you're thinking more thematically of what your plan is and not necessarily all the little people that will be hurt along the way. If you were thinking about that, you'd probably end up becoming a hero and not a villain. So yeah, that fine line that separates the two. Anyways, I personally, sorry, there's a fly. I have these fruit flies that are in here and they just always want my tea. They want my everything. I need to open the window so that it's cold and they die and they get murdered. This is my Gotham and you're all going to get swept away. I'm going to flood the whole apartment. No, I don't want to do that, actually. That would probably just bring more fruit flies. Overall, I think this episode was a 5 out of 5 waddles. I don't know. Penguin's definitely also still waddling more and more waddling incoming. I really, really enjoyed it. It's been my favorite episode so far, and I just love Sophia and Oz together in terms of the dynamic between them. It's so fascinating. We've got just such talented performers that I love seeing on screen together. And the only thing I'm really sad about is that now they're separated and probably won't see them together for a minute unless we do. And if we do, it's not going to be good for Oz, I imagine. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. I hope Sophia's okay too. It's weird. It's like I'm rooting for both of them, even though I know probably only one of them can win. There can only be one. But that's all I have for this episode. Let me know what you thought of this episode down in the comments below. Let me know what you're thinking of the show so far. Are you enjoying it? Do you like it? Are you still liking it? And are you hoping that there's going to be a season 2? Because I personally am at this point. But we'll see where the story takes us. I'll see you next time. But until then, friends, stay nerdy.